The Valari ship moved through deep space like a silver knife. Its walls were clean, silent, and cold. Inside the ship, deep below in the lower levels, there were dark cells where prisoners were kept. These cells had no windows, only walls made of metal and light. One of these cells held a human named Tom. Tom sat on the floor, his back against the wall. His hands were chained, but he didn't struggle. His eyes were calm, watching the small, red light above the door. He had been there for many days, maybe weeks. Time felt slow inside the cell. He was not a young man anymore. His black hair had streaks of gray. His face had small wrinkles from battle and time. But what stood out most was the long, deep scar across his chest. The scar looked strange, like it had been burned into his skin by something powerful. It ran from his left shoulder down to his right side. The guards called him the Ghost. No one knew where he had come from. He was found alone, near the ruins of an old space station. The Valari soldiers captured him during a scouting mission. When they brought him to the ship, he said nothing. He only asked for water. That morning, two guards opened the door to his cell. Tom did not move. He looked at them with quiet eyes. "Get up," one of them said. He stood without speaking. They took him down a long hallway, then into a wide room with white lights and a tall ceiling. He had never been here before. In the center of the room stood a girl. She wore silver armor with a blue cape and had long white hair tied in a braid. Her skin was soft gold, and her eyes were bright like stars. She was not a soldier. She was not a scientist. She was Princess Alira, the daughter of the Valari king. Tom stopped walking. The guards pushed him forward, but he did not fight back. Alira took a step forward. This was the first time she had seen a human with her own eyes. All her life, she had only read about them. Her teachers said humans were wild and dangerous. Her father said they were weak and broken. But the man in front of her looked calm, strong. He stood tall even with chains on his hands. Then she saw the scar. Her eyes widened. She froze. The room fell silent. The guards looked at her with confused faces. She stepped closer. Her voice was soft, almost shaking. "Where did you get that scar?" Tom looked down at his chest, then back at her. His face showed no fear. "A long time ago," he said. Her hand reached toward him, but stopped before touching the scar. You can't be real," she whispered. Tom raised one eyebrow. "I get that a lot," he said. The guards looked at each other. They didn't understand what was going on. Alira turned quickly and walked out of the room. The door closed behind her. The guards pulled Tom away, but his eyes stayed on the door she had gone through. Back in her private chamber, Alira sat alone. Her hands were shaking. She opened a small drawer and pulled out a round silver pendant. Inside was a hidden chip. She placed it in the reader and watched as old files lit up the screen. She had stolen these records as a child. They were stories that had been banned. Her father never knew she had kept them. One story stood out. It was about the last great human warrior, a man who had turned the tide during a terrible war. He was wounded while saving a Valari child. The weapon had burned through his armor, leaving a long scar from shoulder to side. The man disappeared after that battle. His name was never written. His body was never found. That child in the story was her. She had always believed the story was just a tale, a dream her young mind had made up. But the scar she saw on Tom, it was the same dot, the same shape, the same path, burned in the same way. She placed her hand over her chest. That day was long ago. She had only been 5, but she remembered the pain, the fear, and the man who stood in front of her, taking the fire for her. "It can't be him," she whispered. That was over 80 years ago. She stared at the screen, her eyes filled with questions. Was it really him? How was he still alive? Why was he here now, after all this time? In the prison cell, Tom sat down again. The chains were heavy, but he had carried worse. His thoughts were far away. When he had seen the girl, he knew at once. Her eyes were the same as the child he had saved. He had thought she was dead long ago. He never expected to see her again. Now she was grown, A princess, and she had seen the scar. He touched it with one hand. It was more than just a mark. It was a memory of fire, loss, and a promise made in silence outside the cell. The ship moved through the stars. The engines hummed like a slow drum. But something had changed. The princess had seen a ghost from her past, and the ghost had seen the future in her eyes. Princess Alira walked through the metal hulls of the ship, her steps fast and her mind spinning. The guards behind her stayed silent. They knew something strange had happened, but they did not ask. She was the princess. No one dared to question her thoughts. She entered her private chamber and locked the door behind her. She sat at her table and took a deep breath. The man in the cell was not just a prisoner. He was something more, something from her past. She pulled out the old silver pendant again. Her fingers pressed the hidden switch, and the secret chip opened. The small screen showed a group of old files that were not in the royal library anymore. Her father had erased them from public record, but she had copied them long ago, hiding them inside the pendant her mother gave her. She tapped the screen and opened one of the stories. It told of a battle on a moon called Vera 9 many years ago. The Valari had sent ships there to destroy a small human base. The war was still hot in those days, but something unexpected had happened during that fight. The story said that a human warrior, badly injured, had saved a small Valari girl from a burning transport. He had taken a direct blast from a Valari fire weapon, a type of energy that burned through any armor. The blast should have killed him, but somehow he survived long enough to carry the girl to safety. His chest was torn. A scar was left, glowing red. No one knew what happened to him after that. Some said he died in the fire. Others believed he was taken by human forces and hidden away. The little girl had no name in the story, but Alira knew it was her. She touched the screen gently. That memory had lived inside her heart for so long. A memory of fear, of smoke and fire, and a warm hand holding hers. She had dreamed of that moment many times. And now, after all these years, she had seen the same scar on the chest of the man. In the cell. Her hands trembled. She searched deeper into the files, trying to match dates. The Battle of Vera 9 happened more than 80 years ago. That meant the man in the cell, if he was the same human, had not aged normally. But how? Alira stood up and began to pace the room. The Valari were known for their science. They captured human prisoners and used them for study. It was possible that the man had been frozen, kept in stasis for experiments. Maybe her father's scientists had hidden the truth. Maybe even the king didn't know who he really was. She had to find out. Late that night, when the halls were empty and the lights were dim, Alira put on her dark cloak and slipped out of her chamber. She walked through secret paths in the ship, using access codes only the royal family knew. She reached the prison level and paused outside the cell door. She typed the code into the panel. The red light turned green, and the door slid open with a soft sound. Tom looked up from where he sat. He was still chained, but his eyes were alert. He was not surprised to see her. Alira stepped inside and closed the door behind her. "Do you remember a battle on Vera 9? She asked quietly. Tom nodded slowly. "Yes, I remember it well. There was a child, a little girl trapped inside a burning ship." He looked into her eyes. "Yes, she was crying. I carried her out. That was me." She said. Tom said nothing, but his eyes softened. "I thought you were a dream," she whispered. "I thought you were dead." He said. For a moment, they were both silent. Alira walked closer and sat on the bench across from him. "Tell me what happened after," she said. Tom looked at the floor as he spoke. "I was badly hurt. Your people found me and took me away. I was not treated like a hero. I was put into stasis. I think they wanted to study why I survived. I don't know how many years passed. When I woke up, everything had changed. Earth was gone. The war was lost. I was just a prisoner." Alira felt a tightness in her chest. This man had saved her life, and her people had locked him away like an animal. "I'm sorry," she said. "You were just a child." He replied. She studied his face again. He looked tired, but strong. The scar on his chest was real. It was not just a mark. It was proof of what he had done. "I don't want to see you locked here," she said. "You deserve better." Tom gave a small smile. "Kind words from a Valari princess." "I'm not like them," Alira said firmly. "I want peace. But no one listens to me. My father still wants power. He still sees humans as threats." "And what do you see?" Tom asked. "I see a man who saved me. A man who stood in fire for a child he didn't know. That's more honor than I've seen in our court for years." Tom leaned back. His chains clinked quietly. "You're brave to come here," he said. "I had to know the truth," she said. "Now I do." She stood up and looked down at him. "I'll return," she said. "There's more I need to understand." He nodded once. She turned and left, closing the door behind her. The lock clicked again. The hallway was still empty as she walked back to her chambers. Her heart was heavy, but her mind was clear. The man in the cell was not just a ghost from her past. He was something more. He was the key to a future her people could not yet see. The next morning, Princess Alira stood near her window, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was quiet from here, but her mind was not. She had barely slept. The man in the prison cell, Tom, was real. The scar was real. The memory from her childhood was not just a dream. She had questions, so many questions. She needed answers, but she could not ask anyone. Not her father, not the royal council, not even the royal doctors. If they knew what she had discovered, they would shut her out, or worse, silence Tom forever. Alira opened her private files again. She searched the royal archives using secret codes. Only a few people had access to these hidden records. She typed the word stasis and waited. A list appeared, many names. Most of them were human. Experiments, cold sleep, deep chambers hidden under the medical wing. She scrolled until one name stopped her. Subject 04138H species. Human status, long-term stasis location. Unknown scar. Chest injury from Valari energy weapon recovered. Vera 9 battles on her breath caught. This was him. The record said he had been moved to secret storage for long-term testing. But there were no logs after that, no reports. Nothing for the last 60 years. It was as if someone had forgotten him, or wanted him forgotten. She leaned back in her chair. Her father must have known, or maybe someone under him had done it. Either way, the truth was clear now. Tom was not just any prisoner. He was a piece of history, frozen and hidden away. The people had been told that the last human heroes died in the final battles, but one of them was still alive, right here, on this ship. That afternoon, Alira visited the prison again. This time, she walked in with confidence. The guards said nothing. Her orders were law. Tom was sitting again, just like before. When he saw her, he nodded. "You came back," he said. "I said I would." She sat across from him. "I found your file," she said. "They called you Subject 04138H. Tom gave a dry smile. "Not a very kind name. They froze you after the battle. They wanted to study how you lived through a Valari fire weapon." He touched the scar lightly. "I felt it burn through me. I thought I would die, but I stayed awake. I didn't let go. Not until the girl was safe." She looked down. "That girl was me." He nodded. "I know." Her eyes lifted. "How?" Tom's voice was quiet. "You had a small ring on your hand. A red stone. It fell when I carried you out. I kept it in my hand until I passed out. When I woke up years later, I still remembered your face." Alira's fingers moved to the chain around her neck. She wore that same red stone, now made into a necklace. Her mother had given it back to her, saying someone had found it in the wreckage. She held it out. "This one." Tom nodded. "Yes." They sat in silence. Time felt heavy between them. Alira looked around. "The others on this ship, they don't know who you are. They don't know the truth. They think I'm just a relic," Tom said. "A leftover from a war they won. But you are not just a prisoner." She said, "You are a symbol. You saved a Valari child during the war. You are living proof that peace was always possible." Tom shook his head slowly. No one wanted peace back then. Both sides were angry, afraid. Too much blood had already been spilled. But things can change now, Alira said. Can they? Tom asked. Your people still see humans as enemies? Not all of us, she replied. I have studied Earth's past. I know humans were strong, brave. They built families, art, music. We destroyed that. My father says we had to. But now, I'm not sure. Tom looked at her with tired eyes. What do you want, princess? She did not answer right away. Her voice came soft and slow. I want to stop the next war before it starts. Tom blinked. Is there another war coming? There are talks in the palace, she said. Some of the council believe there are human survivors rebuilding far away. They plan to strike before the survivors get strong. But I don't agree with them, Tom sighed. That's what they said last time. And look what happened. Alira leaned forward. If I tell them who you are, what you did, maybe it will change things. Tom's voice turned firm. They won't listen. You said it yourself. They erased the truth once. They'll do it again. She looked down at her hands. Then I'll find another way, she whispered. He watched her carefully. Her spirit was not weak. He could see it now. She was not a child anymore. You've grown strong. He said, You remind me of your mother. Alira looked up in surprise. You knew her? She was on that moon. She gave me a message to carry, but I never had the chance. What message? She said, My daughter will change everything. Protect her. Alira's eyes filled with tears. No one ever told me that. She believed in you. Tom said. Alira stood up. She walked to the door, then paused. Do you believe in me too? Tom smiled for the first time. Yes, she left the cell and walked back to her chambers. Her mind was filled with plans. She knew the truth now. The question was how to use it. Her father's court was full of pride and fear. But maybe, just maybe, one voice could still bring change. And if one voice was not enough, maybe the voice of a forgotten human hero would help. She would not let Tom stay in that cell forever. The truth had been buried for too long. Now it was time to bring it into the light. Princess Alira stood outside the council hall, her heart heavy with worry. Inside, the Valari High Council was meeting with her father, King Varen. The air in the hall was always cold, but today it felt colder than ever. She could hear voices through the thick doors, some loud, some angry. The subject was clear. The human prisoner. One of the guards walked past her and whispered. The High Guard brought a report. They believe you've been speaking to him. The king is not pleased. Alira said nothing. She kept her face calm and stepped away from the door. She needed time to think. She returned to her chamber and closed the door behind her. She knew what would happen next. The council feared the human. They didn't know who he really was. To them, he was just a prisoner with strange knowledge and a dangerous past. But Alira had seen more. She had seen truth, kindness, and a spark of hope. Her people feared what they didn't understand. Hours passed. That night, Alira was called to her father's chamber. The guards led her through silent halls. She entered. A wide room with glowing walls and a throne made of dark crystal. King Varen sat tall and proud, his eyes sharp like ice. Alira, he said, tell me the truth. Have you spoken with the human prisoner? She bowed slightly. Yes, father, I have. His voice was calm, but cold. Why? Because I needed to know who he was, she said. He saved me. Long ago. The king's expression did not change. You were a child. That memory is not clear. It is clear to me, Alira said. He carries the same scar. He remembers the day. He carried me from fire. King Varen stood. That doesn't matter now. He is still human. He is still dangerous. The council has voted. He will be executed in 2 days. Alira felt her chest tighten. No, you can't do that. I must, he replied. If word spreads that a human is still alive, it will stir unrest. The people must believe we ended the war completely. No survivors. No heroes. Alira stepped forward. He is not just a survivor. He is a symbol of peace. He saved me, even when he had no reason to. If we kill him, we destroy what little hope remains. The king's eyes turned hard. Enough. You are still young. You don't understand what peace costs. She wanted to scream, but she only said, "Then I will make you understand." She turned and walked out, her hands shaking. In her mind, a new idea was forming, a dangerous one. But there was no other choice. That night, Alira returned to Tom's cell. The hallway was quiet. She had disabled the security cameras using her mother's override code. Tom looked up as she entered. He could see something in her eyes. Fear and fire. "They're going to kill you," she said. "I expected that," Tom answered. "But I won't let them." He tilted his head. "What do you have in mind?" "There's an old ship, hidden in the lower docks. It belonged to my mother. No one uses it now. I know the codes. I can get you out." Tom raised one eyebrow. "You'd risk everything. For me, you saved me once," she said. "Now it's my turn." Tom gave a small smile. "Then let's do it." They planned quickly. The escape would happen the next night. The guards would change at midnight. Security would be light. Alira would unlock the doors and lead Tom through the hidden passage to the dock. Once inside the ship, they would fly away before the fleet could stop them. The next day moved slowly. Alira played her part. She walked the halls, spoke to the nobles, and acted calm. But inside, she was counting the minutes. That night, just before midnight, she dressed in black and made her way to the prison. She used her override code again. The door opened without a sound. Tom stood ready. She had brought him dark clothes, a small pack of supplies, and a stolen pass card. "No turning back now," she whispered. "I wasn't planning to," Tom said. They moved quickly through the lower halls. Alira knew the cameras. She led him through side passages, across dark corridors, and past silent rooms. When they reached the old docking bay, Tom stopped for a moment. He looked at the ship. It was small, silver, and shaped like a bird. It had not flown in years. "Can it still fly?" he asked. "I made sure of it," Alira said. "I repaired it in secret." They walked toward the ramp. Then a voice called out behind them. "Going somewhere, cousin?" Alira spun around. Standing near the doorway was Commander Varn, her father's nephew. He wore red armor, and his hand rested on the handle of his sword. "You would betray your people," he said. "For a human?" Alira stepped in front of Tom. "He's not just a human. He's a hero. You fear him because he reminds you of the truth." Varn drew his sword. "Step aside. I'll make this quick." Tom moved beside her. "No, you'll have to go through me," Varn smiled. "As you wish." He charged forward, his sword flashing in the dim light. Tom blocked the first strike with a metal rod. The sound echoed through the dock. Alira grabbed a staff from the wall and joined the fight. The battle was fast and fierce. Varn was skilled, but Tom had fought in real wars. Every move was sharp, clean. Alira struck Varn's arm, and Tom hit his leg. The commander dropped to one knee. "This isn't over." Varn growled. "It is for tonight," Alira said. Tom ran into the ship. She activated the engine, and the lights flickered on. As they lifted off, alarms began to ring. The ship broke free from the dock and entered the stars. Behind them, the fleet woke up. The stolen ship raced through the stars. Lights flashed across the control panels. The engines hummed as the small craft moved faster, trying to escape the reach of the Valari fleet. Alira sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls. Her eyes were sharp, watching every number on the screen. Tom sat beside her, keeping an eye on the radar. "They're coming," he said. "Four ships just entered the chase." "I see them," Alira replied. She moved the ship to the left, dodging a beam of light that passed close by. One hit, and they would be finished. "How long until we can jump?" Tom asked. 40 seconds. She said. Another warning light blinked. A missile locked onto them. Alira pressed a button, and two flares shot out of the back of the ship. The missile followed the flares and exploded harmlessly in the distance. "Nice work," Tom said. Alira gave a quick nod, but her face stayed serious. "This ship is fast, but not built for fighting. If they send more, we're done." Tom looked at the screen. The timer showed 10 seconds. "Hold it together," he said. The ship shook from another near hit. 5 seconds, Alira said. They both braced. 3, 2, 1. She pulled the lever. The stars stretched, turned into long white lines, and then the ship jumped into hyperspace. Everything turned quiet. The shaking stopped. Only the soft sound of the ship's hum remained. They had escaped. Alira leaned back and took a deep breath. Tom looked over. That was close. Too close, she replied. They sat in silence for a moment. Both knew the danger was not over. The Valari would keep looking. The entire fleet was now on high alert. The king would not forgive this. You just became a traitor to your people, Tom said quietly. Alira looked at him. No, I became loyal to the truth. Tom smiled. That's not how they'll see it. I know, she said. But I couldn't let them kill you. Why? He asked. Why risk everything? Alira looked down at her hands. Because I remember. I remember the fire. I remember your hand pulling me out. I remember you didn't ask for anything in return. You didn't know who I was, but you still saved me. Tom's voice was calm. It was the right thing to do. And now it's my turn to do the right thing, she said. They left hyperspace and entered a quiet region of space. There were no big stars, no known planets. Only dark clouds of gas and rock. It was the perfect place to hide. Alira guided the ship to a small base built into an asteroid. It was old, but still working. She had used it before during secret travels. They landed, and the doors opened inside. The lights flickered. The air was dry, but safe. They walked through the metal halls until they reached the command room. Alira checked the power systems. Tom scanned the area for signals. We're alone, he said. No ships nearby, no signals. We'll stay here for now, Alira said. But not for long. Tom looked at her. What's next? Alira turned on a small screen and opened a secret channel. The signal was coded, only known to a few rebels Valari who didn't agree with the king's rule. I have to talk to someone, she said. Someone who still believes in peace. The screen buzzed. After a long pause, a face appeared. It was an older woman with sharp eyes and a scar on her cheek. Princess Alira. The woman said, I thought you were dead. Not yet, Alira replied. I need help. The woman looked at Tom. Is that the human? Alira nodded. He's the one from the stories. The one who saved me. The woman leaned back, surprised. We thought he was a myth. He's real, and he's alive. But the king wants him dead. What do you need? A meeting, Alira said, with the human survivors. I want to speak to their leader. The woman thought for a moment. I know where they are, she said. But getting there won't be easy. The path is guarded. I can make it, Alira said. I need to try. The woman gave a slow nod. Very well. I'll send the coordinates. The screen went dark. Tom turned to her. You're really going to meet them? Yes, Alira said, if we want peace. We need to stand together. Tom looked out the window. I wonder what they'll think when they see you. A Valari princess walking into their base. They'll see someone who believes in truth, she said. And what if they don't trust you? Then I'll prove them wrong. Tom gave a soft laugh. You're more like your mother than you know. Alira smiled. Thank you. They prepared the ship again. They had a new course, a place far from the Valari Empire. A hidden world where the last of the human survivors had built a new life. The journey would be long, but it was the only way. Tom looked at the star map. Do you really think peace is possible? Alira's answer came without pause. Yes, if we don't try now. The war will return, and next time, it might destroy us all. Tom nodded. Then let's do it. The engine started once more. The ship lifted off, leaving the quiet base behind. In the distance, the stars waited. The path to peace was still unclear, but Alira and Tom were ready to walk it together. The ship moved slowly through the dark space between stars. Inside the small cabin, Princess Alira and Tom prepared for the meeting ahead. The hidden base of the human survivors was close now. It was a place Tom had heard about but never visited. A world where humans had rebuilt after the Great War. Alira checked the maps once more. We will land on the third moon of the planet Vesta. It is quiet there. Tom nodded. The survivors will be cautious. They have reasons to fear the Valari. Then I must show them I am different, Alira said. The ship began its descent. The moon was rocky and cold, but covered in small green forests. The base was built underground, hidden from the sky. As they landed, the hatch opened, and they stepped onto the surface. The air was crisp. Alira felt the weight of the moment. She was a princess from one of the most powerful empires. But here, she was a stranger. They walked down a metal path leading to a large entrance carved into the stone. Two guards stood silently, watching them closely. Tom spoke first. "We come in peace." The guards nodded and opened the door. Inside, the base was alive with activity. People moved with purpose, but stopped to look as the newcomers entered. Whispers filled the air. At the center of the base stood a tall man with gray hair and a strong face. His name was Marcus, the leader of the human survivors. His eyes were sharp and full of suspicion. He stepped forward. "Who are you, and why have you come?" Alira bowed her head respectfully. "I am Princess Alira of the Valari Empire. I come to seek peace. This is Tom, a human who saved me many years ago." Marcus's eyes shifted to Tom. "Tom, you say the name is familiar?" Tom nodded. "I am the one. I was captured and held prisoner for many years." Marcus turned back to Alira. "Why should we trust a Valari princess? Your people destroyed our homes, killed our families." Alira's voice was steady. "I know. I cannot undo the past, but I believe the future can be different." Tom's story is proof that peace is possible. Marcus studied her carefully. Then he asked, "And why did you come here now?" "Because the Valari Corps plans to strike again," Alira said. "They believe humans are weak, but they are wrong. The war is not over. I want to stop it before it begins." Tom stepped forward. "We need to unite. Humans and Valari both have lost too much." Marcus looked around the room. His people watched quietly. After a long pause, he said, "Very well. We will listen. But this will not be easy." Alira nodded. "I understand." For hours, they talked. The survivors shared stories of loss and hope. Alira told them about the Valari court and her father's plans. She spoke honestly and openly. Tom stood beside her, adding his voice. The room grew quiet when they finished. Marcus finally spoke. "You have courage, and you speak the truth. We will consider your words." Alira and Tom felt a small spark of hope, but the war outside the base was still alive. As they prepared to leave, a message arrived on the base's communication system. It was a warning. The Valari fleet was moving toward their location. The time to act was near. Alira looked at Tom. "We must prepare." Tom clenched his fists. "This fight is not over." Alira's voice was steady. "No, it is just beginning." Together, they looked out at the stars. The future was uncertain, but they would face it side by side. The Valari fleet moved like a storm through space. Their ships surrounded the small base on Vesta's third moon. The humans inside prepared for battle, but their numbers were few. The silence before the fight was heavy. Princess Alira stood on the command bridge. Beside her, Tom checked the weapons systems. Both felt the weight of the moment. The war that had been buried for years was now waking again. "Do you think they will listen after this?" Alira asked. Tom looked out the window, watching the approaching ships. Sometimes peace must be fought for. Alira nodded. Marcus entered the room. His face was serious. "We have little time. The Valari want to destroy us before we can unite." Alira took a deep breath. "Then we show them something they can't ignore." The base's defenses powered up. Laser turrets hummed, and shield generators glowed. People moved with purpose, ready to defend their home. The first Valari ship fired. The battle had begun. Outside, beams of light cut through the darkness. Explosions shook the ground. The small base held strong, but the enemy was relentless inside. Alira coordinated the defense. She sent messages to nearby human allies. Tom worked with engineers to keep the shields strong. The fight went on for hours. The Valari were powerful, but the survivors fought with heart. During a brief pause, Alira and Tom spoke quietly. We cannot win this by fighting alone, Alira said. We need to find a way to stop the war for good, Tom nodded. Then we must show both sides what peace looks like. Suddenly, an alarm rang. The Valari commander Varn was leading a strike team to board the base. Alira and Tom prepared to face him. When Varn entered the command room, his sword drawn, he sneered. You think you can stop the Empire with a few rebels and a princess? Alira stood tall. I'm not just a princess. I'm a voice for change. Tom stepped forward. You lost before. We are stronger together. Varn laughed. You will fall like the rest. The fight was fierce. Alira used her agility and quick mind. Tom's experience in war gave him strength and skill. Together, they pushed Varn back. At the last moment, Varn's sword broke against Tom's metal rod. He fell to his knees. Alira looked down at him. It is over. Let's end this war. Varn's eyes burned with anger, but he did not move. Outside, the Valari fleet saw the resistance. More ships joined the fight. Some Valari soldiers refused to attack. They watched as their princess fought for peace. The battle slowed. Voices of reason grew louder on both sides. Days later, the leaders of Valari and human survivors met in the neutral halls of Vesta's space station. Alira spoke with passion. Tom stood by her side. The war was not forgotten, but the future was new. A peace treaty was signed. Borders were redrawn. Old wounds began to heal. Alira looked at Tom, her friend and hero. You saved me once, she said, and you saved us all. Tom replied. Together, they watched the stars. A new day had begun. The end.